Have you ever stopped to realize just how limitless your mind truly is? Unlike your body, which tires and ages, your mind has no ceiling, no defined boundary to what it can absorb, imagine, or create. And yet, most people go through life feeding their bodies every day, but starving their minds. Reading books and gaining new information isn't just a hobby for intellectuals, it's fertilizer for your inner world. It's the difference between a mind that constantly expands into new territories and one that keeps recycling the same tired thoughts, the same patterns, and ultimately the same life. Because here's the truth, your mind is the causal realm. Everything you experience externally is simply an effect of what your mind has first entertained, learned, or believed. And when you refuse to give it new material, new perspectives, new knowledge, new seeds, your reality becomes nothing more than a replay of your past. So in today's video, we're going to explore why reading and learning are essential for true growth, why neglecting this practice keeps you trapped in loops of the same experiences, and most importantly, how to practically apply this wisdom so you can begin expanding your reality every single day. Part 1. The infinite capacity of the mind. One of the most extraordinary gifts we've been given is the limitless nature of the human mind. Think about it. Your mind can store an entire lifetime of experiences, memories, skills, languages, and lessons, and still have room for more. You can learn philosophy, then quantum physics, then poetry, and the mind will simply expand to hold it all. There's no full storage on the mind. This is why reading and absorbing new information is so powerful. Every new idea you encounter becomes a seed. Some seeds sprout into new perspectives that shift the way you see yourself and the world. Others grow into entirely new behaviors, opportunities, and ways of living. And even when you don't immediately see the effect of what you've learned, the seed is there, waiting for the right moment to grow. But here's where many people go wrong. They treat their minds like something static, like it's something that's fixed. They assume who they are today is who they'll always be, so they stop feeding it. They stop stretching it. And as a result, they live on autopilot, recycling the same thoughts and replaying the same patterns. Their lives become repetitive, not because life itself is limited, but because their minds are repeating what they already know. It's like owning the most powerful computer in existence, but only ever running one or two outdated programs on it. You have the potential to run an entire universe of thought, but without new input, without new code, you're stuck with the same old output. Your brain isn't just passively receiving information. Every time you learn something new, it physically changes. New neural pathways are formed. Existing ones are strengthened. Your brain literally reshapes itself to accommodate the new insight you've given it. The key realization here is this: your reality can only expand to the extent that your mind does. If you're not learning, if you're not exposing yourself to new perspectives, you're not just staying the same, you're actually regressing. Because the world is evolving while you remain stagnant. And in that stagnation, life begins to feel predictable, repetitive, and uninspired. This is why the act of reading or learning something new each day isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. It keeps your inner world alive, fertile, and ever expanding. It ensures that your mind is constantly being stretched into new dimensions, ready to create a reality that reflects growth instead of stagnation. Part 2. Information as the architect of reality. If your mind is the causal realm, then your reality is nothing more than the effect. Everything you see, do, and experience on the outside first existed as a thought, belief, or mental framework on the inside. This means that the information you consume is not just knowledge stored away for reference, It's the raw material that builds your life. Think of it this way: every book you read, every idea you wrestle with, every perspective you absorb becomes part of the blueprint through which you interpret reality. If your mind has only been fed with limitation, doubt, and narrow perspectives, then reality will reflect those same limits back to you. On the other hand, when you feed your mind expansive ideas, when you immerse yourself in wisdom, creativity, and new knowledge, your perception of what's possible begins to widen, and reality follows suit. This isn't just philosophy, it's neuroscience. When you encounter new information, your brain fires new neural pathways. These patterns become pathways, and with repetition, those pathways solidify into habits of thought. Eventually, those habits of thought influence your emotions, decisions, and your behavior, which collectively shapes your life. In other words, the books you read today are carving the pathways for the life you will live tomorrow. This is also why a lack of learning keeps people trapped in cycles. If you only rely on the information you already have, you're essentially recycling the same neural pathways over and over again. And recycled pathways produce recycled experiences. That's why many people feel like they're living the same year on repeat, just with a different number at the end of the calendar. Nothing new is being introduced into the system. But when you read, when you seek knowledge, you're interrupting that cycle. You're breaking the loop of repetition. Imagine someone who grew up in an environment of limitation, where they were constantly told what they could not do. Without new information, their mind will continue to replay that script indefinitely. But the moment they open a book that presents a new perspective, that moment a seed is planted. Maybe I am capable. Maybe there's more to life than I've been told. And that single idea, repeated and nurtured, can create an entirely different destiny. So the question then becomes, what information are you feeding yourself? Because your mind doesn't just passively hold knowledge, it transforms it into the architecture of your reality. If you choose to feed it scarcity, fear, and distraction, your life will reflect those same qualities. But if you choose to feed it wisdom, truth, and creativity, then your reality will inevitably expand to match the richness of that input. At its core, this is why reading and learning are essential. They're not hobbies, they're not luxuries, they're acts of creation. Every new piece of knowledge is another brick laid in the foundation of the life you're building. Part 3. The neurological and quantum mechanics of learning. When we talk about reading and learning, we often think of it as just gathering information, like filling a mental bookshelf. But what's actually happening runs much deeper, both neurologically and spiritually. From the perspective of neuroscience, every single time you expose yourself to new information, your brain begins to rewire itself. This is called neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to form new connections between neurons. Imagine your mind as a landscape filled with paths. The paths you've walked most often are the ones that become wide, familiar trails. They're easy to follow, but they always take you to the same destination. Reading and learning something new is like carving out fresh paths through that landscape. At first, they're narrow and difficult to walk, but with practice, they widen into new roads, and eventually those roads become the highways of your thoughts, decisions, and your reality. Now, from a spiritual lens, we can see that information is not just words or facts, it's energy. Every book you pick up, every idea you encounter carries a frequency. If your mind is the causal realm and reality is the effect, then every new insight you absorb changes the frequency you're broadcasting. It's like upgrading your inner instrument to play higher notes. The resonance you create within draws new experiences without. Reading something profound, even just a single sentence, that strikes you at the right time can lift your vibration and shift the entire trajectory of your life. And this ties directly into the mysteries of quantum physics. The observer effect teaches us that reality itself responds to the lens through which we view it. When you gain new knowledge, you don't just add to what you know, you actually alter the lens through which you perceive reality. Think of it as cleaning a foggy window or replacing a dim light with a brighter one. The moment you see differently, reality itself reorganizes to reflect your new vision. Learning isn't passive, it's a form of creation. Each page you read, each concept you absorb, rearranges the possibilities of your world. So here's the metaphor I want you to carry with you. Your mind is like a vast library, but if you never add new books, you'll always walk the same aisles, pull the same volumes off the shelves, and reread the same stories. You'll recycle the same experiences because your library hasn't changed. But each time you learn, you add new shelves, new genres, new entire wings to that library. Suddenly, you're not limited to the same repeating storylines. You have infinite possibilities of narratives to live out. And this isn't just a poetic idea, it's literal. Your brain, your energy, your perception, and therefore your reality begins to shift into something completely new. Part 4, Turning Knowledge into Transformation. We've explored how reading rewires the brain, elevates your frequency, and literally shifts the lens through which you perceive reality. But information by itself is not transformation. That is the key. You can fill your shelves with books, but if you never open them, the library of your mind remains unused. The true magic begins when knowledge is absorbed, reflected upon, and lived. When your knowledge is actualized and activated, when it is applied onto life. The first step in applying new information is conscious choice. Not all knowledge carries the same vibration. Some books are distractions, some are just noise, but others are doorways. They hold the power to awaken dormant parts of your mind. That's why it matters what you choose to feed your mind. Just like your body responds to the quality of the food you eat, your mind responds to the quality of the knowledge you consume. If you constantly take in surface level material, your inner world will remain shallow. But if you commit to consuming wisdom, ideas that challenge you, expand you, and demand your participation, your inner world becomes vast, rich, and fertile. The second step is integration. Reading a book is not about racing to the last page, it's about digesting the energy behind the words. Take the time to sit with the concepts, reflect on how they apply to your life, and ask yourself, how can this idea shape the way that I think, act, and choose today? In this way, every book becomes a mirror, reflecting back to you aspects of yourself that you may not have noticed before. And then comes the third step, which is embodiment. Knowledge that stays in the mind eventually fades. Knowledge that is lived becomes wisdom. When you read something powerful, don't just nod in agreement. Apply it. Test it in the laboratory of your daily life. If you learn from gratitude, practice it. If you learn about presence, anchor yourself in the now. Each time you embody what you learn, you etch it into your neural pathways, solidify it into your energy field, and allow it to restructure the way reality responds to you. Now think about the opposite for a moment. When you stop learning, you stop expanding. The mind left unfed begins to recycle the same patterns over and over, the same thoughts, the same emotions and experiences. Life becomes a loop. This is why so many people feel stuck, because they are living in a closed system of old information. Reading and learning break that cycle. They open windows in a house that has been shut for years. They let in fresh air, new light, and new possibilities. But here's the deeper truth. Every time you choose to learn something new, you are declaring to the universe, I am ready for more. More growth, more wisdom, more evolution. The universe responds to that declaration by arranging the circumstances, synchronicities, and opportunities that match the new frequency you've stepped into. Reading isn't just about filling your head with facts, it's a spiritual act. It's aligning your inner world with the infinite intelligence that permeates existence. So if you want your life to keep expanding, keep feeding your mind. It's a simple recipe, really. Treat every new piece of knowledge as fertilizer for the garden of your consciousness. And remember, the mind has no limits. It is infinite in capacity, infinite in potential. To not learn is to waste the greatest gift you've been given. But to learn, to integrate, and to embody is how you transform your reality from the inside out. In conclusion, reading and gaining new information is not just a hobby, not just something to fill your time. It's one of the most direct ways to evolve as a human being. Every book, every new idea, every concept you allow into your awareness becomes a seed planted in the soil of your mind. Some seeds will grow slowly, others will take root instantly, but all of them expand the field of possibilities available to you. And here's something that I want the listeners to remember. Your reality is always a reflection of your inner world. If you feed your mind with the same recycled patterns, your life will remain the same. And if you feed your mind with wisdom, inspiration, and truth, then your reality has no choice but to shift and reflect that expansion. To stop learning is to stop evolving, and to keep learning is to keep creating. So treat your mind like the sacred gift that it is. Give it the nourishment it needs, not just for knowledge, but for transformation. Because in the end, every page you turn, every insight you absorb, is shaping not just your thoughts, but the reality you walk through every single day. And if this message resonated with you, I invite you to stay connected with this journey. Subscribe to the channel, leave a comment with your reflections, and share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Because together, we're not just consuming information, we're awakening consciousness, one idea at a time.